And so we are officially starting, and welcome to everyone. We're going to move into silence, and I want to encourage you in our time of silence to move past the mind. That's the only intention. Just have the intention to move past the mind and see what happens, okay? We will begin our 3 minutes of silence now. And so we take time now to set our intention. We're setting our intention for this time together to see what it is we're here to learn. Taking time also to give thanks, remembering that all of this work is between you and God. So I just affirm for each of us that we are guided and guarded by the Holy Spirit. We are loved, we are safe, we are blessed, and so it is. Amen. Leanne, glad you joined us as well. Awesome. Awesome. So tonight is kicking off the whole month about the magical, mystical you. In other words, there is more to you than meets the eye. And I found a couple of images I want to share with you as I speak, simply so you can begin to get in the mindset of I am more than my body and what I can see. And I'm going to go ahead and share. This is not a great image, and I even made a mistake on the image, but it gives you the feeling of what I'm talking about. Can you see this guy right here? Yeah. And this is God as immanent, and we're going to talk about God as immanent, God is transcendent, and then we're going to speak of the chakras. But the idea is that I am more than my body. I'm more than what meets the eye. And you can see in this this image, that at the center there's light, but the light is not just contained in the body. The light goes beyond the physical body. And that is the case with what is called our etheric or auric field, our aura, as it's been called. If somebody is snippy at church, every now and then I'll go up to them and say, "Oh, honey, I need to fluff your aura." And I'll go like this around them, and they laugh, and the energy is lifted. And they think I'm kidding, but I'm really not. Because I know that their energy goes beyond the body, even though it's contained within the body. And when we think of ourselves, we think of, and I notice it doesn't come out much, the fingertips more around the center, but we think of this as our hand. And all that there is to this hand is this hand, not realizing that the soul energy that is our hand is actually moves way beyond our hand. It's how we can sense things happening or even coming at us before they're there, because it's like there's this invisible extension on our hand that's extending out, and definitely from the heart space too, in a real major way. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. And any of you that have studied heart math know what I'm talking about, that there is literally the heart itself, the energy extends beyond the body and has its own intelligence. So everything in our world, even in religion today in general, is focused in the mind and the body. But the fact is, we are more than both of those. And so you've heard me say we are spirit, soul, and body. The spirit of us is the part that never changes, yes, but our soul and is eternal and ever is like effervescent. And this might be, I'm going to share this image. This might be an image of how, if this figure is us at the bottom, right? This is the transcendent us. This is our God nature that's known up into the sky, the moon, the stars, that we can know it in, through, and as that, even though it's known in the very inner recesses of my mind and body. It goes far beyond my body. And not only is it an energy auric field right around me, it is as vast as the universe is vast. Because if we are, in fact, spirit, soul, and body, then it means at the spirit and the soul level, we are connected to all of eternity. And so it's like our one mind connects with all mind, God mind. And rather than mind, think of it as presence. That's what Eckhart Tolle calls it, right? Presence. And so even though as we walk around the world, it feels like I am only me and only me, I'm me and only me, we're actually all of this and more than the eye can see. And so the idea is that not only am I here in my body, but I can actually feel, and we're going to try this in a few moments, my soul within my body, in my fingers, in my chest cavity. And as we breathe and kind of have that intention, you're going to be able to feel the difference between what is your body and what is your soul. There was a time years ago where I was doing a lot of deep, deep spirit work, where I was working with actually feeling my soul, and I could lift up out of my body to a certain extent, where I could realize my soul was out of the body to a degree, and then it would go back in. But I could differentiate to a degree because it's just heightening your awareness to be in touch with that etheric field. And so you might say, well, why do I need to do this? Well, one of the reasons we do it is for healing at the level of the body and soul. Because those fields, those infinite fields of consciousness, which is really what we're connecting to, is where all the information in healing lies. So even though we are a body walking around, doing our thing, we are also more than our body. I want to show you one other image. This is the last, this is the last body image. But I wanted to show you this because many of us have talked at length about some of the chakras. And I wanted to do this week as an introduction system, but see how even in this image, even though they live in a certain area in the body, you see how this smoke around here has it going beyond the body? Because these are not boundaries. This is an imaginary boundary right here. This is not where we end and begin. This is just where our body ends, but not our etheric, mystical, magical self. This is important for me, these colors and these images here, because if we go into a room, and we've talked about this a little bit before with our emotional healing, if you go into a room and there's been an argument, raise your hand if you can sometimes feel there was an argument in that room. Right. You go, something's wrong, I'm out. Right? On the other hand, if you go into a holy place, you feel that before anybody says anything. What are you feeling it with? Think about that. What am I feeling it with? If nobody said anything, I haven't seen anything, I haven't heard anything, I haven't touched anything, what is giving me that information? It is the etheric or auric field. Now, there are places where you can get pictures of your aura. Have you heard of this? It's pretty fun. The thing is, though, that, they used to do them at Spiral Circle here in Orlando. I don't know if they still do it because there's a new owner, because the original owner passed away. But there used to be these people, and they'd be in that little kind of room to the side. It's like a little magical shed, and they'd do your picture of your aura in there. And I had a good time doing it. I'd taken friends in there to do it. But the interesting thing is, it only takes a picture of that moment. I felt great about that moment, but I just meditated for an hour before I went in there. They thought I was about to, rise on up when they saw my auric, my picture of my aura. And I was like, oh, well, I just meditated. And they go, oh, yeah, okay. We thought you were an ascended master. I said, yeah, right. You happened to catch me at a good moment, dude. You should have seen me 2 hours ago, So, but think about that. If I know that energetically, what am I feeling it with? I'm feeling it with my, I call it kind of like this spiritual sensories, sensory aspect. It's like, it's not really intuition, because intuition feels like it's from the mind. This is literally a felt sense. It's almost like, I don't know if you've ever been in a paranormal situation. All of a sudden, all the hair on your neck stands up and you get, God bumps everywhere. You go, oops, something's in the room. Has that ever happened to you? So I'm asking you again, what is feeling that? Because it's not seen and it's not heard. One time I was staying in this place in Savannah. Savannah, there's a lot of old buildings, a lot of spirits. There's that real old, graveyard there and everything. Although people say, 50 years ago, never ever heard it was haunted. But anyway, I went and stayed in this old Airbnb, and I was there with a friend, and very spiritual. And we walked in, and I said, oh, how are you? And she goes, oh, my God, are you feeling that too? I said, yeah, there's a woman sitting over there in that chair. And she goes, is she smoking? I go, yes. So we could both smell and sense the spirit and its activity. What were we feeling it with? What were we sensing it with? This powerful, unseen, it's almost like tentacles that go out. The spiritual, like sensory, it's almost like an extra organ, if you will. But it's spiritual and doesn't get named. But what it really is our etheric or auric field. And it feels, senses, and it's attached to eternity, like those images showed. But it's also, it feels like it's centered in the heart, but it's also contained in the body. And it's why, as those, I'm going to share this image one more time, the chakra image. It's why, especially people that are empaths are known for this kind of stuff, right? They'll just walk into a room and go, oh, heck no, I'm out. That before anybody else knows anything, because they're like hypersensitive to it. But these little, I love this image for some reason. I'd never seen this chakra image for some reason. But see how this is kind of wispy? And I feel like this one could kind of like go off forever. Well, this purple is that higher energy wisdom that's going to help us tap in and bring it in and through the body if we want it, or no, and say, no, this is not for me. But it is also contained in the body. So that's where it comes in through these like little feelers. And then we decide, is this a place for me or no? And I just felt this was so important to start with as we're thinking about our higher energetic realities that we are. And so for me, a reason to know this information is then we know how to access the information, we know how to work with the information, and we also know how to use that information to ground us in our spiritual practice. For instance, I'm using right now in my auric field, can you guys see this little red? This is like a little red crystal thing. And this is for the root chakra. I'm doing a lot of running right now. Not bad, all good running. Life is busy. My son's doing a lot, life is good. But what I know is that if I'm going all over town and I'm not rooted in this root chakra, I'm going to be no good to anyone, including myself. I start losing keys. I leave caps off gas tanks, and I get ungrounded. That's the kind of way it shows up for me. So when I'm walking into a room or I'm coming into a situation, I want to ground my auric field in the here and now. Not where I'm going to be, not where I came from, not where I think I want to go, in that here and now vibe. And I can kind of bring that in. If not, and I'm sensing all this stuff because I am very sensitive to energy, I'm going to be pulled this way and pulled that way. And then I've got to work a little bit harder to get recentered. So it's like this auric field is sensitive and provides me with a lot of information. But if I don't know it's there and I'm not accessing the information, I can't use the information to make good decisions for my life and world. I'll just be, all over, or just be impacted. Like I hear a lot of people who are very empathic say, I'm an empath, everything gets to me. So if you're an empath, to guard your energy, right? To guard your energy. And it's more difficult because you're more sensitive. We've got several empaths that work with me and come to many of my classes. And they have to fight this all the time because they have a hypersensitive field. Now, some of us were learned you don't trust anything, you just go with what you know. And so it's harder for us to access it. But every single person has this invisible auric field or etheric field. And in that field exists spirituality, our chakras, yes, but even emotion. even emotion, is a part of that field because it comes in and through the heart and projects outward. We are not as linear as we think. And so the idea when we meditate is to access this higher field and bring down in and through this higher intelligence. You know, work it through all those aspects. And especially through the chakras, which I think, I don't have the list in front of me, but I think we're doing the chakras, one of the talks this month. I'm trying to remember, maybe that's next month. But so the mystical, magical you is always there, always accessible, always available. And I'm going to talk in a minute about how to access it, but I want to get your thoughts and questions. But let me show you the images one more time. This was okay, let me share my screen again. So that was the first image, right? That at the level of the heart, extending past the body, yes, but radiating out from the heart. Then there was, so that's the immanent. Oops, did I not get that one? Hold on. I don't know why that didn't work. Hold on. Let me reshare it this way. So at the level of heart is the immanent. This is the transcendent. In other words, the highest possible connection to God, sun, moon, stars, you know, all of that energy. That's how we connect. And we really connect through the level of the heart. And then finally was the last picture I showed you. Sorry for all the sharing and unsharing. Let me show you one last one. This one more time. Now, I'm going to show you one other thing. Almost forgot. Sorry, one other thing. When we begin to speak these certain words, like we start to get in touch with the idea of the Om, then we're bringing the word into that as well as creative energy. So I'm going to share this image. Of course, we've all seen this image. And this is simply the symbol for the word Om, or for the vibration Om. And it is the idea that all creation came from this vibration. This is a very Hindu idea. That said, in our own scriptures, we hear the words in John 1, in the beginning was the word, or the logos. Logos is right in Greek. Logos is how that's spelled. And what is a word but a sound? So in truth, our beginnings and two vastly different takes on the spiritual experience both begin with a sound. In our Christian Bible, it is the word, the spoken word of God, or Jesus as the word. In Hinduism, it is the vibration. But all of this happens and creates in and through this auric field. Everything in the auric and etheric field is vibrational. And that's what we're feeling with. Those feelers go out.